beginnings in 1889, Schenley Park has always been a symbol for what we think about our city and about the different ways we spend our leisure time. Just before the turn of the century, when most other major American cities were enjoying large, luxuriant public parks, such as Fairmount Park in Philadelphia and Central Park in New York City, Pittsburgh had no public green space. It was the vision of Edward Bigelow, urban planner and director of Pittsburgh's new Bureau of Public Works, that brought residents to appreciate another side of city life. Bigelow and his team of landscape designers were part of a group of visionaries that included Andrew Carnegie, Henry Phipps, and Mary Schenley, wealthy industrialists and landowners who had the means to change the look and very nature of the city. These developers focused their plans to improve the city's cultural life on the growing East End. The construction of Schenley Park acted as the keystone around which Oakland grew. New museums, libraries, cathedrals, and colleges made Oakland the center of leisure and refinement for Pittsburgh's thriving middle and upper classes. Along with tons of earth moved to create graceful slopes and miles of winding roads, thousands of trees, shrubs, and flowers were planted, and facilities like music pavilions, lily ponds, and even a golf course were created to complete this man-made and very ordered picture of nature. Bigelow's dreams collided with shifting political and social agendas. His plans for a pristine paradise were challenged by people calling themselves reformers, who sought to direct public funds into the building of playground facilities for the families of industrial workers. As early as 1906, populist Mayor George W. Guthrie called to see that the working classes were able to take advantage of this public resort. By the 1920s, the kinds of activities found in the park included more active entertainments like circus acts, athletic contests, ethnic pageants, swimming, horse racing, and even mock airplane dogfights. The park had become a place where Pittsburghers of all kinds felt that they could go to enjoy themselves.
Well, everybody went over to Schenley Park in the summertime for the concert at the bandstand, and the routine was to go over, go through Phipps Conservatory, see the flowers, and then that whole walkway from the bridge on the 4th Street side up to the curve in the road was lined with benches. And the thing then was get down on the benches and watch. In the late 20s, or in the 20s, there was a lot of Irish immigration to the Pittsburgh area. And if you would have taken anybody on that Sunday promenade up the walkway in front of the Phipps Conservatory, blindfolded them, they'd have sworn they were in Southern Ireland, because the brogue, you could cut it with a knife.
We used to go in Schenley Park, especially on Sunday. We used to go play ball, soccer ball. And after that, we used to carry our own lunch. We used to bring a little glass of wine. We used to have a lot of picnic, a lot of campagnata, because we knew them days, we don't know too many places. Because I live in Oakland all my life. And the only place I knew them days was Schenley Park.
We used to be able to walk from our neighborhood to Schenley Park, and we did that quite often. And we would walk around the lake, and even in the winter, because it was summer or winter, that the lake and the Panther Hollow Lake was a beautiful sight.
Forbes Field, it was a wonderful place for a baseball game, and a wonderful place to watch a baseball game. The left field bleachers was where I usually sat after I got older. It was the cheap seats, 85 cents, and we sat out in the sun. But all the real baseball fans were out there. They knew everything. You didn't have anything happen 5 years before or 10 years before.
I was given a bicycle, and I used to ride over, and I would go up and down Serpentine Drive, which seemed very romantic to me, Serpentine. I suppose we had to walk back up every time. but we loved going down those curves.
The merry-go-round was an excellent place to meet girls because all the maids that worked in the Squirrel Hill and the Fifth Avenue, High Polloy area, would bring the infants over there, or the youngsters over there, the merry-go-round. Great place to meet girls.
In the years following World War II, many Pittsburghers left the city to make their homes in the suburbs. With a drop in city population and tax base, the parks suffered. It wasn't until the 1970s, under Mayor Pete Flaherty, that interest in the city's park system was revived.
It was kind of, in the early days of the parks, prior to my administration, the parks were run by administrators who were park-oriented. They tended to maintain the parks nicely, keep up the grass, take care of the trees, and very little recreation. We were actually in, you'll see a very user-oriented park system there. They have a good one. We really, the suburbs were ahead of us, I think, in the park system, and so were the county parks. They were much more active. Our city parks tended to be staid, conservative parkland, and to keep them attractive that way, keep kids out of the park. It was almost, we used to laugh about it and say, it's a big keep off the grass sign. And because that's all you saw before we got there is keep off the grass. Well, the idea was let people on the grass. I think if you go through the parks, you do see more recreation. You see more basketball, you see more ice skating, you see more youngsters playing in the parks, more swings and slides, that type of thing. And yet at the same time, the passive beauty of maintaining the trees and the grass and the flowers. It's really a balance.
Pittsburghers and city officials will be grappling with these issues again as they develop a new master plan for park redevelopment and rehabilitation.
People tend to think that because it's green and it's growing, God takes care of it. And in fact, if you think about what you have to do to your own backyard to manage it and maintain it, if you magnify that 1,000 times is what you've got to do to manage and maintain a public park.
Because the park does need a master plan. It needs to entity, something that is going to change whether humans have any impact on that or not. And if change is going to occur, then it has to be a managed change.
One of the things that's interesting about who's using the park is that it is people not only from all over the city, but people from the county actually come here as well. It is truly a regional park. It's a real workhorse of a park because people come here to use it for all different kinds of things. One of the things that was striking, though, was that people, the majority of people who use it now, use it for the same things that they did at the turn of the century, which is for its natural attributes, which is why it's so important to maintain those natural attributes. They are the things that are in the most danger, and they are the things that are truly irreplaceable. You can replace a swimming pool, but you cannot replace old-growth woods.
More than 100 years after Edward Bigelow established the blueprint for Pittsburgh's first great park, we are once again designing a vision for Schenley Park's future.
Well, as I've said, I have great hopes for Schenley Park. Schenley Park is Pittsburgh's Central Park, and I think it can only get better. We just have to be careful not to over-program it, not to over-design it. It's obviously a wonderful interaction now because Oakland, so heavily populated with people in the medical field and the educational field, can walk right into the park, and it's an extremely valuable resource.
It's wonderful to be in it and to experience that almost wilderness effect in the middle of the city. Whenever I'm walking in there, I'm always thinking about it and worrying about it and hoping for it.
Oh, Schenley Park is probably the top park in the city, and in a beautiful setting, rolling hills, It provides a beautiful piece of green space in the heart of an urban area. The city's going to maintain that park, I'm sure, keep it up. That's a gem.